Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today we are going for something a little bit meta. Now I don't want this to take away from the main content that I do, so it's not going to be massively edited, and it's totally something that is okay for just listening to. Now, look, Battle for Azeroth has been a bit of a funky time for the game, and we really don't need to get into why. That's not why this video exists, and really, this video exists because I kind of want to address the state of the community, my part in it, and the challenges that we all face, at least how I see them. And to be clear, this video has literally nothing to say about the content of the game. It's entirely agnostic to the state of the game and all that stuff, and it's not speaking to any particular narrative. That said, if you don't agree with me in this video, please tell me. I would genuinely love to hear the discussion that this one could spark off. So, we live in a world where it's increasingly hard for nuance to exist. Once the battle lines are drawn up and the narratives are solidified in the hive mind of the social media, along with the pollutant incentive mechanics of social media, we're left with really little crossing of the streams, we're left with little conversation between people who hold disagreements, and that all sounds like mighty, lofty stuff, and it might seem a little silly to apply it all to video game drama, but I really do think that the current expression of our WoW predicament is something that's echoed across the world in other contexts. So, first of all, I want to just talk about the state of human communication and kind of tear down the concept of positivity and negativity, because they're really, really messy, non-specific terms, and I don't think they do anyone any favors. What is a positive opinion? Is that an opinion that's in alignment with Blizzard's thinking? Is that an opinion that any one individual agrees with? Is it used in reference to something that somebody said, or is it used as a long-term, assessment of their character? So these are, I think, sloppy words that play into a larger problem, which is a lack of specificity. We kind of live in a world where, it's all narrative and it's all emotion. They're what are king. Those things matter because they're powerful tools, and they do not matter because they correlate to the truth. And that's why living in a world of specifics and details is really what's important. Be it in alignment with Blizzard or not in alignment with Blizzard, I think that this lack of specifics in favor of playing into a narrative is one of the prevailing issues that we face. Defaulting to either narrative as the lens through which all information is processed is just not that useful. The thing is, though, we often only recognize when we slip up in retrospect. And I think that's something that happens now more so than ever. Why is that? Well, emotional manipulation and modern technology. So, gamification is when mechanics and rewards are assigned to something. As an example, Twitter likes. Gamification is a tool, and it's a really powerful tool because it plays into the weak spots of human psychology. Now, while we probably all wish we were able to think and then feel, I think most of the time we feel and then we think, or at least more often than we'd like to admit. I know it certainly is like that for me. It's a totally natural response, but it is a response that's the primary target of many of the mechanics by which our modern means of communication actually works. Even if it's as simple as measuring retweets or likes, or even being worried that somebody has, not read a Facebook message, or maybe that they've read a Facebook message but not responded. It's pretty unlikely we're all going to wake up tomorrow as stoics and therefore be able to deal with all this stuff, but I think it is best to understand how all of this plays a major role in communications and the eroding impact that this really has, where often you're not engaging with people's thoughts, you're engaging with people's feelings put out into the world at a time where they're being felt at their highest magnitude. They definitely might bear resemblance to what, anyone thinks, but maybe not as good as, say, if you, had them write an essay on their viewpoint. Certainly it won't be an ideal representation. That means that we're just not really engaging with people at their best. We're engaging with people at their most feral, right? When the primal emotions that drive us all kind of take hold. Now look, I'm guilty of this. Tweeting dumb things, reacting too strongly to things, engaging with people and myself, in my worst portrayal of myself, and, just veering into the territory of communicating with people in bad faith. All these things, I think, happen to everyone. And really, I think all of this it's the big downside of many aspects of the modern age. So these are some of the fundamental communication problems that I think lead to things being really messy, be it World of Warcraft, politics, which I'm not going to be touching here, or anything else. Now, these same failures of human communication, as facilitated by the power of gamified, growth-driven technology platforms, seem to just be wreaking havoc across the world in general. Perhaps by better understanding how all of these mechanics impact us in World of Warcraft land, we can actually be a little bit better prepared for the real world. Now, with all that said, let's get on to World of Warcraft, starting with this channel. And yeah, we're going to go for thumbnails and titles, because come on, they're probably what you're thinking about right now. It's certainly what I'm thinking about. And it's not like my thumbnails are subtle. The thumbnails have a relevant World of Warcraft character posed with an emotion that I think will resonate with the viewers based on the topic. Be it something that is hopeful or something that is, a reaction to a pretty shocking, headline. Take the thumbnail of J. Allen Brack destroying the Heroes of the Storm logo. When creating that, I knew where public opinion was on the issue and what the immediate reactions would be. So I made a thumbnail that would resonate with that. After all, it is in line with my own personal knee-jerk reaction, which was kind of like, what? Now, that said, is it clickbait? No, it's not. Clickbait is when a thumbnail is not in line with the topic of the video. What the thumbnail is, though, is it is a thumbnail that is absolutely aware of how it's going to be perceived. Now, once the actual video rolls, then I see it being my job to start off with a knee-jerk reaction that everyone, myself included, has, or many people, and then progress that to the more slowed down and reasoned position on the issue. The goal of a video like that is to interest somebody based on the wide narrative and then take them towards a more reasoned out position. At least that's the primary reason why I script my content instead of just flicking on the camera and speaking my mind. Because yes, everything I do is scripted. I know that what comes to my mind immediately is probably not the true form of my reasoned out opinion. Now, I know that running the channel that way is a bit of a high-risk operation, and the downsides are not lost on me. The channel seems to be particularly good at ticking off people who hold a strong opinion on either side. As compared to most of YouTube, this channel actually does run at a statistically high dislike ratio. Now, to be upfront on the business side of things, not doing those thumbnails and those titles would decrease video views, probably an average of about 30 to 50%. More importantly, it would also kill the potential of videos to go viral. Really, that's just the way it is with the YouTube and how the algorithm works, and when this channel is supporting the income of 6 people by funding the early stages of the game studio, it would be foolish and irresponsible not to do that. So that's kind of the MO of the channel. The titles and thumbnails basically are kind of mirroring my own knee-jerk reaction to something, and then the actual content is basically me sitting down, writing out what I really think and trying to come to the more complete version of my thoughts. And that's generally why you'll see my videos be, this is a big shocking bit of news, and then as we go through the video, it kind of moves towards a more reasoned and sometimes more hopeful position. Now this leads me on to a bit that I'm going to call the explanation problem. So they say don't shoot the messenger. Well, in the modern day, I'd really like to say don't shoot the explainer. Now, my goal with a lot of these videos is to tackle the more dramatic topics in a way that is kind of explaining why people think what they do and what can be done based on that. So yeah, this bit of the video will definitely seem self-serving. Basically, I worry that increasingly explaining something is seen as having a really strong opinion on it. For an example, explaining common criticisms on Azerite. That can be done in a non-biased, non-narrative driven way that I think is extremely useful. But one problem is that it will often be seen as adding fuel to a fire, when it's actually an attempt to rescue the good ideas from the firestorm and then share them. So across the board, I think we see this conflation, where talking about an issue is by default seen as taking a side. And speaking of taking sides, I just want to talk about narratives and WoW, because the binary positivity and negativity problem is something that's really noticeable from my position. Now, of course, my ability to see this is because, of all of you supporting my content. What I have noticed is, as an example, I'll do news, and I'll be dislike bombed for being negative. Then I'll do a video where I'm genuinely excited about the lore, and that'll be dislike bombed because WoW's dead, and why am I bothering, at least according to the comments. I think it kind of highlights a problem of binary narratives, because from my perspective, I can be highly critical of aspects of World of Warcraft, but I can also be highly excited about others. Nothing's a singular entity, but the power of overarching narratives is such that many people do just really reduce things down. And really, that's the thing about hopping on a big positivity or negativity train. You get to think a single thing, either a good thing or a bad thing, and you got a built-in set of allies to back you up, and it's not that good, and obviously I find myself falling into these traps all the time as well. Now, with World of Warcraft specifically, I think there's a few more factors that play into it. There is a bit of a sunk cost fallacy. At the end of the day, we're all dinosaurs here. We've been in this game for a long time. I also think the game's a part of many of our identities. Indeed, this game got a lot of us, myself included, through some pretty dark times, so it definitely holds a special place. And to be clear, I can't blame anyone for that. But I want to move on to a section I'm calling Digital Monk, because sometimes I see people say that they think I have like a level head and things, or that my analysis comes off as being kind of reasonable or a bit hopeful. Now, I think the most helpful thing that I've done to allow that to happen is to disengage, because I kind of know I'm really, I can be prone to, getting on the train, so to speak. So I only check Twitter once a day, and I've muted all social media notifications on my phone, bar Slack. I barely watch any World of Warcraft content in YouTube, and I never watch content about a topic that I've not yet covered until after I've written the video. Nothing's been better for my mental health, and also I think my ability to be kind of balanced, as basically disconnecting from the click economy as much as I can. And I think that's probably a good thing. Now, what this has all taught me is that when I engaged heavily online all the time, it just served to strengthen my own existing opinions and fan the flames of my emotions in a very predictable way. It wasn't useful, so I suppose, if you ever feel like something's taking up too much headspace, my personal recommendation from experience would be that disengaging with that media could actually be the good thing to do. So for me, the key thing about this video is I just want to get across why I think things are the way that they are, and just, help a little bit, I guess. I think it's becoming very hard to have an idea-based discussion, and I think these are some of the core reasons why. I think that understanding this stuff is really helpful if you don't want to be driven mad by the state of online communication these days. A lot of the time it just seems like there's a kind of a lack of understanding between people, and when that happens, the default is to lampoon the other person's motive and not to understand what they think. So my hope is that through talking through my own experience with this, from running the channel and what I think of all this stuff based on the pretty large amount of data that I get through the likes and the dislikes and the comments, that I can just kind of help explain why things are the way that they are. So that's my take on the state of communication in general and how it impacts World of Warcraft specifically, as well as my own experiences of how it's been with the channel and how I have tried to deal with all that. So I'd love to hear what you've got to say about this. That's really all that I have today. The third part of my Wrath of the Lich King documentary is coming up super soon. I also have a preparation guide for Season 2 coming up really soon as well. So there is actual content coming in the channel and not just bizarre thought pieces like this. So let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.